Good day, everyone. Today, my report will be about perception. First, I would like to greet Dr. Haboya. A pleasant day, and to all the listeners who will go through this video presentation. So, our topic is about perception. By the way, I am Ernvin T. Maglangi, your discussant for today. I am from NAED 2J. Let's start off with the definition of perception. Perception, by definition, is a process by which individuals organize and interpret their sensory impressions in order to give meaning to their environment. So, what one perceives may be different from objective reality. For example, a person coming late on duty may be perceived as casual and tardy, while there may be social problems faced by him. Another view of perception, for the second example, there is often disagreement among the individuals in the organization in relation to pay and allowances, administrative backup, policies and procedures, and the pace of work itself. An individual who displays a positive attitude may perceive the above factors as good and conducive to the work environment, while others may consider them inadequate. Employees also compare themselves on job assignments. So perception, in a simple, uh, to give it a simple meaning, it is how we see others based on our senses. First, it is the different perception or the different way that people interpret things, people, situations based on their own senses. So let's go through with this. Employee also compare themselves on job assignments. If a job is assigned to one individual, they may consider the assignment in excess of his job entitlement. On the contrary, if it's not given the job, he may consider it as neglecting him in the allocation of responsibilities. It would often be observed that the manager is also rated differently by his subordinates, likewise how we rate our superiors, especially if we are teachers. We rate differently as principals, master teachers, coordinators, and uh, other supervisory bodies. So because of these different perceptions of the individual about the manager, the study of perception is very important. Why? Um, it may lead to misunderstanding, especially in organization, because it is necessary for the manager to perceive individuals correctly, irrespective of their status, and perceive each situation as close to the real fact or as it exists by interpreting the sensory reflex in a correct way. Sensation and perception are complex phenomena. Perception is the outcome of sensation and is much broader in its nature. Perception involves observing data, selecting and organizing the data based on sensory reflection. So it's a two different thing, though it coincides and interpreting the same as per the personality attributes of the perceiver. That is why no two individuals can perceive an employee in the same manner. Uh, the same thing that no two individuals have the same DNA print. For one, he may be efficient, while for the other, he may be perceived as useless. So we have those. Uh, Likewise, as we have our individual differences, people are also perceived us in a very different manner. So what are the factors influencing perception? First, we have the perceiver, the situation, and the object or the target. First, we have to go through with the perceiver. Attitude, motives, interests, experience, and expectations. And situation is about time, work setting, social setting, or the object or target, the list or shape, size, shade, sound, silhouette, movement, and background. So perceiver, when an individual looks at the object and attempts to interpret the same, what he or she sees, it is largely influenced by the personal characteristics. Perception is a matter of attitude that can be positive or negative. Some workers would feel and perceive that the prevailing working conditions in the organizations are congenial for work and it contributes positively, while for others, it would be inadequate and demand improvement. Uh, for example, during this summer, especially in the Department of Education, for those who wants to implement that the school year should be extended at this uh, month, at time of month. It's very um, not conducive for learning. They are able to have that decision because they are not in the position of teachers who have no air-conditioned classroom. Because those who decide for us are the ones who have a better working environment. They have their air conditioned. They do not experience what we experience in the real classroom and the way it affects our um, learners. Next, we have to go to motive. Motive is another factor that plays an important role in perception. Motive is nothing but unsatisfied needs. This exerts considerable influence on perception. A boss who is insecure perceives a subordinate who does well as a threat to his position. Personal insecurity is a threat to personal survival in a job, especially if one is frequently transferred. Next, interest. Interest is person's liking for a particular thing in an individual. Maybe some people get attracted to the eyes of a girl because he has interest in the eyes, while another person may be interested in her style. Therefore, different people or perceivers will perceive a girl based on the perceiver's interest. What attracts you most will be the basis of your perception. So it has also been observed in the workplaces that workers who display interest as per their liking. Students in the class, when preoccupied, are not attentive in the class. Past experience also plays an important role in perception. Just as interest narrows down one's perception, so does past experience. In contrast, past experience nullifies an object's interest. For example, a second or a subsequent visit to a historic place. Objects or events that have not been experienced before are more noticeable and create interest. Expectations can distort one's perception of what one sees and what one expects to see. That's what we call expectation versus reality. For example, power-hungry police officer could be strict regardless of his actual traits. The target, objects and events that are similar to each other, tend to group together and have a tendency of perceiving them as a common group. For example, blacks, whites, or Indians, irrespective of their different characteristics. Physical and time proximity also leads us to perceive a situation in a different form than actual reality. An increase in the sales volume may be attributed to the newly posted sales manager, but in actuality or reality, the increase in sales may have been the outcome of hard work done in the past by sales representatives and public contact. The situation, change in situation, leads to incorrect perceptions about a person. Time is one factor which influences the perception. You would have very frequently heard people say that their manager is different during working hours and the opposite while in social setting. In fact, person is the same, but the perceiver perceives the manager as for business-like a setup while at work, while the person is observed on a private or personal platform when meeting him in the cloud or at home. Yet what is important to remember is the perception should be done in correct manner and not be led due to work setting or social setting, and that the situation is not allowed to perceive wrong. An object can be identified by its size, shade shape, sound, mix, and background, can be distinguished based on its movement. In the darkness, it may be identified by its silhouette, for example, a caravan moving in the skyline at the dawn. Attribution theory of perception. It has been seen that our perception of people is greatly influenced by the assumption we make about a person and not by reality. It suggests that when we evaluate human behavior, it's either internally caused or it's caused due to external factors. If it's internally caused behavior, it refers to internal factors which an individual has full control. Second is externally caused, refers to behavior which has been caused due to external factors and that the individual has no control over. So what are the common errors when we are judging others? One, we have the selective perception. People selectively interpret what they see based on their attitude, interest, background, and experience. Second, the halo effect refers to judging an individual based on a single characteristic such as intellectual ability, social ability, and appearance. Projection. You assume a person based on their own traits and not what they actually possess. Fourth, a contrast effect. We do not evaluate a person in isolation. Our reaction to one person is relative to the other. During the selection process, the interviewer selects a particular person for a particular job, not because he fulfills all requirements, but he is generally selected in relation to other candidates. Example of that is he is more acceptable than those of the others, but it doesn't mean that he exceeds the um, standards. Next, lastly is stereotyping. In order to simplify matters, we often tend to classify people in events into already known categories. For example, we generally perceive men as executive and women as a secretary, even if the situation may be different. So, for example, because I have a very I am a nearsighted. People perceives me as cranky, but in reality, I just don't see them clearly unless they are near me. So let me end my presentation with this quote. We must not allow other people's perceptions to define us. It is a quote by Bernice Satir because those perceptions will not define our destiny. That's how they just see us, but that is not our reality. So no matter what they say, let us prove and stay kind, stay successful, anchor your goals, and uh, never allow those perceptions to be our reality. That will be all. Thank you for listening for in this video lesson.